I am now introducing Insane Ian. Achievement unlocked!
Cool guys never look at explosions when they're walking away from them. Cool guys never ask for directions cause the GPS is their friend. Cool guys never read the instructions when building or playing games. Cool guys don't have to be guys because gender roles are totally lame. Greetings, Internet, and welcome to another episode of A Comedy Musician Reacts. My name is Insane Ian. I'm a comedy musician and comedy music fan, and on this show I react to comedy music from the perspective of a comedy musician. Because that's what I am, and that's what I do, and that's what this is, and that's why you're here, and that's why today I'm reacting to a live version of Kick Out the Jams by the Presidents of the United States of America. If this is your first time joining us, yes, I am a comedy musician, and I react exclusively to comedy music because that is where my field of expertise is. What this means for you is that I'm going to pause the video. Kind of a lot, actually. This way I'm not talking over or laughing over the jokes and missing them. This way I can discuss how the lyrics and video work in tandem to help enhance the comedy. Sometimes I'm analyzing, sometimes I'm summarizing, sometimes I'm explaining jokes, because that's always fun for people, and sometimes I'm just sitting back and laughing my damn head off. It's a crapshoot, whatever you're gonna get, but it's a good time, I think. I think it's a good time. If you like that sort of thing, please like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things to feed the algorithm to get more eyeballs onto these videos. And if you really want to help the channel out, consider supporting me on Patreon, where patrons get to see these videos early, get my music and comedy early, and all sorts of other cool things like that. Anyway, all of that out of the way, let's dive into this video. Now, I know some of you out there are probably going to say, the Presidents of the United States of America aren't really a comedy band. They don't really have comedy songs. And I sort of agree with you on that. Their songs are clever, their songs can be funny, but they aren't setting out to be a humorous band. I remember when Weird Al parodied the Presidents, their song Lump with Gump, and a lot of the reviews were like, comedy doesn't work when you're parodying an already funny band. And I disagree, because I think Al's version is great, and the Presidents did too. They adapted the ending of that song to their ending of Lump when they played it live. But if you didn't know, the Presidents of the United States of America is my favorite band next to Weird Al. I have been a huge fan of this band ever since their first album, and this year is the 31st anniversary of the release of the first album. Last year would have been the 30th. They planned to have a re-release of it last year, and then apparently they just forgot and didn't put it out. So this year, on July 31st, we saw the re-release of the first album, now available on streaming sites. It's the 31st anniversary, and on that anniversary edition, there are now newly unearthed live tracks, such as this one. A couple of them have had music videos. They had a video for Peaches. I think there was a video for either Lump or Back Porch, but all of those have had live versions on this new release of the album. And this is the one for Kick Out the Jams. Kick Out the Jams is a song originally by the MC5, a sort of proto-punk band. This isn't a cover, though. It has the same name as the MC5 song, and obviously the music is similar, but Chris, the lead singer of the Presidents, Chris Ballou, rewrote the lyrics wholesale. All the lyrics in the President's version are not the lyrics of the original, so it doesn't really count as a cover. I mean, it is a cover, but it's almost a parody of it. Especially since the lyrics in this song are geared toward the band themselves. This on the album is preceded by a song called We're Not Going to Make It, which is also another cover from a lesser-known band called Tracy Lord's Ex-Lovers. So there is definitely a lot of punk influence in the Presidents. I'm a huge fan. This shirt is from the 25th anniversary of the first album re-release, as are these, and I'll get into that later. But let's check out the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Presidents of the United States of America.
This clip here of them in the winter jackets, puffy vest, flannel, this is from I think this is from MTV's Rockin' Mount Rushmore performance. The Presidents did a live show on MTV in front of the Mount Rushmore monument, because they are the presidents. And it was in February, so it was cold as balls. So I think that's what this clip is from. Obviously, this is like the other live videos they've released recently, where the song, the live performance is from '98, but the video for it is just clips from many different live performances. Apparently, some of them culled from a President's fan YouTube and fan website called Pusa Base. Presidents of the United States of America is abbreviated as PUSA, P-U-S-A, not POT USA. When you abbreviate things, the words of and the are never in the abbreviation. The USA is not the USOA, it's USA, United States of America. Of is not in the abbreviation. So don't put of the in the abbreviation for the Presidents of the United States of America. It's PUSA. P-U-S-A. And they've proven that in the music video for Mach 5. They have a whole light display behind them, and in the style of Kiss is written P-U-S-A. Listen to the band, they would know. It's not POT USA. No matter how much their stonerific lyrics seem, they're not, usually. The songs about kitties and duckies are actually about kitties and duckies. That's the joy of the band. They came out when grunge was such a huge influence in the marketplace. In Seattle, especially, you know, you had bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and this kind of heavy, kind of almost pseudo-depressive music. And then you had these guys also from Seattle playing songs about bugs and duckies and chickies and, you know, girls named Lump and Peaches and playing on the back porch. It's incredibly fun. It's incredibly happy. And that was a kind of an injection the rock scene needed, I felt, because it was going into this, you know, heavy grunge alternative mode, and, like, it didn't seem fun anymore. Like, I love those bands, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan, loved Nirvana, but the Presidents were my favorite because they didn't take themselves as seriously as those bands, and their songs showed it, and they still rocked the fuck out, as they do in this song. Yes, I've been talking a lot. It's what I do in this show. I think some of this is also from Pink Pop. Okay, this shot where they're all in the same outfits, the short sleeve white button down wearing different colored ties, this is from when they came back. The band actually broke up in '98. The press release said we broke up for the same reason that Soundgarden broke up. Chris left the band. Chris Ballou in the President's case, Chris Cornell in Soundgarden's case, another Seattle band for the grunge scene. But Chris actually left the Presidents because his wife at the time was pregnant and he wanted to spend more time being a father. They went through a whirlwind amount of album releases and tours. The album came out on Pop Llama in '94 and was re-released on Columbia Records with a couple of adjustments on the album in '95, which is why we celebrate the 30th anniversary in 2005. This is the 31st. And then their second album, 2, came out in '96. So it was a whole year later and they put out a second album. The marketing for that second album even said, in quotes, "Wow, that was fast." Again, I'm a huge fan of this band, so I'm going to go on about a lot of this shit. But this is when the band reformed. They played some shows together as a regular three-piece. Chris Ballou, Dave Dederer, Jason Finn. Chris on lead vocals and git bass. Dave on backing vocals and bassitar. No, Chris plays the bassitar. Dave plays the git bass. And, actually, I don't remember now. My card's gonna get revoked. I don't remember who plays which. Yeah, no, Chris plays the bass guitar. Dave plays the git bass. 2-string bass guitar, only 2 strings on Chris's instrument. Dave plays the 3-string git bass, and Jason Finn plays the no-string drums, and also does vocals. But when they reunited, they played a couple shows together, and then they had Andrew McCaig as a guitar tech. And then after a little bit, Dave was like, I've got other things that I want to do. I'm going to move on from this reunion. So I think they did a year or two coming back after their album they weren't planning on touring with, Freaked Out and Small, from 2002. They got back together in 2003. They just recorded the album in 2002 because they wanted to record an album. And then they went, oh wait, people want to hear us. And they toured again starting in 2003. And then shortly after that, Dave left the band and Andrew filled in on git bass. And that is actually Andrew over in the corner playing on this one. But for a lot of the anniversary stuff, Dave has come back to help promote the albums. And Andrew has a band of his own, the Andrew McCaig Band. Andrew is a great person and guitarist. Got to hang out with a band a bunch in my travels as being a fan of this band. I'll explain a lot of these things in a little bit. We've barely gotten into the song, so I love this band. It's their anniversary, and I'm just excited. Yeah, there's Andrew. So that's a little bit of a change from the lyric that's actually on the album. The album lyric is, we've been elected to rock your asses till midnight because they're the presidents. So they've tailored the lyrics to be... This is the only song that references anything presidential for the band The Presidents of the United States of America. This is a band that, in their early shows, before they recorded the full album, when they had just a demo tape called Froggy Style, they would play... Actually, Froggy Style... this was before Froggy Style, because Froggy Style was called The Presidents. Before they settled on a name, Chris would say, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, we are, and just come up with a name for the band that was different every single time he said it. One night they were Pure Frosting, which is why their farewell album was called Pure Frosting. They named so many other different names, and then one night he said the Presidents of the United States of America. The audience responded really well to that, and that was the name they kept. And this is the only song that references the band's name, being The Presidents. We've been elected to rock your asses till midnight. Now, he says selected in the live version sometimes. It changes, but on the recorded version, on the album version, it's elected first. This is my term, presidential term, but I shaved off my perm and it's alright. Well, Chris is bald. Chris has no hair. Lead singer of MC5, if you've ever seen him, giant fro. Shaved off my perm. Obviously a difference between him and Chris. Yes. Yes. It's just... like, sometimes they would open with this song, and sometimes they would close with this song. Like, it's funnier when they close with this song. I mean, they play it before the encore. They're obviously going to come on for an encore. But we're going to kick out the jams, and then they leave the stage. That's hilarious. I'm sorry, that's really fucking funny. We solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution, got a rock and roll problem when we got a solution. Clearly written from the perspective of a band called The Presidents. These are not the lyrics of the MC5 version at all. The only line that remains the same is, let me kick out the jams. That is the only line that carries over. This is a parody, not a cover. That's Dave. Love the hat. Pretty sure that's from Pinkpop. This is from the later tours. There's Andrew. I was gonna say, we've barely seen Jason, and there he is. This is from the MTV special. This is a later revived tour shot, because that's Andrew there. You can tell from the sideburns and the long hair. That's a Seattle something symbol on the drum kit. I just saw Jason wearing a hat with that. I think it's from some sports thing. I'm not a sports guy, clearly. And, you know, Chris, being Chris in the yellow shirt. He's played that same red guitar that says rock, R-O-K, on it for a very long time. I was such a huge fan of this band when they first came out. I was hugely into the band, and then they were only around, to me, for about 3 years, and then they broke up in 1998. I'm fairly certain this audio, the music from this Live 98 recording is from their farewell show. I'm not been confirmed on that, but I'm fairly certain the live tracks that are on the 31st anniversary that's out now on streaming sites, the live tracks from 98 are from their farewell show, the last show they did before they broke up and Chris left the band, before they obviously got back together for Freaked Out and Small to record that album and then decided, oh, maybe we should tour again. So the band had really only been around from 94 in Seattle, but 95 to 98, and broke up in 98. And so me, being a huge fan of the band, and heading into college as a comedy musician and performer and wannabe producer, I thought, well, if they're breaking up this year, we need, as fans, to let them know what they mean, what the band means to the fans. So I organized a fan tribute album to the Presidents of the United States of America called Goodbye Ladies and Gentlemen, which is a reference to the outro song from their second album. So I put that tribute album together. I got fans of the band to perform songs. I did a couple on the album myself, not very well. and I ended up producing it myself. I was supposed to have somebody help me mix and master it, and that didn't go well, unfortunately. I ended up, taking these tapes from fans and burning CDs myself and just offering them to fans. And mostly I did it for the band. And the band really seemed to respond to that. They recognized me from that, and Chris reached out and was talking about, hey, can you put me in contact with some of these bands? I really liked these songs. That was very cool. Cut to years later when the band gets back together. Over the years, me and several fans maintained a fan mailing list called Froggy List, where we would talk about rare President songs that were on B-sides, on import singles, and live performances, and all the stuff that they were doing since the band broke up. Before the band broke up, Chris had recorded a solo album under the name The Giraffes, and where it's him playing every instrument. He loved doing a lot of, 4-track demo tapes of things. He had recorded many things as an act called Casper that became President songs. The song Twig in the Wind is from an EP he did with Beck called Casper and Mollusk. Chris is Casper, Beck from Loser is Mollusk. Chris was the bass player before the Loser album for Beck's band. He's on One Foot in the Grave playing bass the whole album. And the song Twig in the Wind is about Beck, because he was going off on this big tour with the Loser album when he wrote the song. And so, that's where that song originated with Casper and Mollusk, and then got turned into a President song and was recorded at least 3 different times as the Presidents. 3 different versions of that song exist with the President's version, and as well as, other versions that Chris has done. So a lot of the songs of the band have grown from Chris's work, and then there's the Giraffe stuff. So because we were maintaining this mailing list and passing around songs and demos, I made a tape called Rare and Live that was full of rare tracks and B-sides, and we traded it with other fans across the internet. That's what the internet was before MP3s were everywhere, and before streaming sites had everything. There was fan tapes and stuff that the presidents had a fan club, and a lot of people sometimes missed out on them because they were limited edition, so we would pass the songs around, and I collected them and put them on tapes and did the tribute album. And other fans were running, here's chrisballou.net, which keeps track of all the things that Chris was doing, and that was run by my friends Jack and Sal and Mike Lyon. And because of that, when the band got back together, They did a it wasn't called Kickstarter. They did a Music Blitz. Music Blitz was a website that did funding for bands to get them to release an album, well before Kickstarter even started. And that was the album Freaked Out and Small. And that was the band getting back together to only record an album. They weren't planning on touring or anything. They did one live show, and that was in the studio where they recorded the album. They had an audience come in, and Mike Lyon, we didn't call ourselves this, but the band called us the Supers. It was short for Superfans. And so Mike was at that show, and, got to see them perform that was expected to be last performance live. They just played the songs from the new album in the studio. And then they found out that people were very excited about this and wanted to see them. Chris's kid has gotten a little older, so he decided, let's get the band back together, and they started touring. And so me and Jack from chrisballou.net, Jack lived near me when I lived in Maryland, and we found out they were playing Roanoke, Virginia, which is not too far from Maryland, so we drove together to this show. We got tickets. They're playing some festival in Roanoke. And so we go there, and Chris from the band sees us, recognized Jack because he knew him from his picture. I didn't really have too many pictures of myself out. And he calls us over. And he goes, "Oh, I'm so glad you guys made it. Did you get the tickets I had for you?" It's like, "No, we bought tickets." He's like, "No, I had tickets for you guys at the front gate. You just had to..." "We didn't know. You didn't tell us, Chris." So, we were backstage with the band before the show. They play the show, they come out, and Chris says to me and Jack, "Hey, what are you guys doing after the show?" "We're doing an after party at a bar up the street." And we're like, "We just got invited to a Rockstar after party. Yes, we're going." So we went to this show. Now, we got there, we're walking in. I'm fresh into college. I'm like maybe 20. Just a little over 20. I turned 21 on Y2K. So we walk in to see the band. They are partying with some local football players who are having a bachelor party. Chris is dancing on the table. We were like, what have we walked into? But we hang out with the band, we're talking with them, we're talking with Dave, with Chris, with Jason, hanging out, they're drinking. I'm not a drinker, so I didn't drink. But we're having a good time. They seem to really, appreciate us. Like, why are we here with you guys? You guys are rock stars, and you've invited us fans to hang out with you. The night goes on. The guys get very tipsy. And we're like, okay, we still have at least an hour and a half drive to get back to Maryland. We should get going. And Chris comes up and gets me and Jack in a headlock under each arm. And he's very drunk. And he says to us, "You guys know, you're the reason we got back together. You guys, the fans, are the reason we're here again. We're the reason we're doing another tour is because of you guys. You guys kept things going. You kept that mailing list going. You kept passing around the tunes even when the band wasn't making any new music. You kept talking about our other projects. You guys are the reason that we're doing this." And me and Jack were like, This is drunk rock star talking. This is something that he's just whispering. This is something that we're going to keep to ourselves. We're going to keep this memory, and this is just going to be a nice thing. So we go, sure, thanks, Chris, we appreciate that. Meanwhile, inside, we're both screaming. We leave, we drive home, we talk about it, it's amazing. Cut 2 years later. The Presidents have been putting out a couple of new albums, and since Freaked Out and Small, with Andrew now. Dave recorded one new album with them, and then Andrew recorded an album with them. And then, so they're on tour again, and they're playing the 930 Club in D.C., which is a very big club, very close to me when I was living in Maryland. We're at the show. Jack is there with his son up in the balcony. He's like, I'm too old to be down on the floor. I'm just going to be up here in the balcony. And I was front row with the band. I'm usually parked right in front of where Chris is on the side of the stage. We'll get back to the song. I like telling the story. So they're back for an encore, and Chris says, hey, does anybody know a song called Meanwhile Back in the City from our record? Or, no, he goes, does anybody remember our record Freaked Out and Small? And I go, yeah! And he goes, oh, I know you know it, Ian. And he goes, actually, wait a minute. Everybody, I need to say something. This guy here, Ian, and Jack up in the balcony, we would not be on stage right now if it weren't for these guys. Holy shit. The thing that Drunk Rockstar told us in a Drunk Rockstar hug was now said on stage in front of, you know, a huge crowd of people who were so excited to see the band again. He said it into the microphone, into the loudstick, so that everybody else could hear it. He said if it weren't for these guys and a couple other superfans, we would not be on stage right now. I was there with my friend Dan. Dan was standing behind me. He said, I could see you smiling from behind you. I am such a huge superfan of this band, and to have him say that and acknowledge that and say something that he initially told me in confidence, seemingly in a bear hug, on stage in front of other people, really, really justified that, like, yeah, these guys are awesome. And it was one of my favorite moments seeing the band. Seen them dozens of times since then. They did sadly stop touring and doing music in 2017 and haven't gotten back together, but they did get back together to re-release the albums twice. And now, in the 31st anniversary, this is from the 25th anniversary, as is this one. I'll explain that in a minute. Let's get back to the song. I've talked way too much.
Oh, it feels so good. That's because we've been selected to orbit the planet in a rocket, or in a rocket ship. We're going to Mars, we got a message for the poodle in your pocket. In your pocket, yeah! Mission control, call the supernova. The hotline's rocking, you can come on over and let us be who we am.
So, yes, this is where selected comes in on the second verse. We've been selected to orbit the planet in a rocket. And I love Dave's ad-libs, in a rocket ship. We're going to Mars, we got a message for the poodle in your pocket. In your pocket, yeah! So selected is the second verse, elected is the first verse, but sometimes, in the live versions, it gets changed up. Mission Control, call in Supernova. So, every so often, in a President's song, you will hear Chris mention Supernova. Everybody supernova, everybody supernova. He might say in a live version of what is it, Boll Weevil? Yeah, I think the music video version of Boll Weevil had them playing the song live around a campfire, and I think they say supernova in that. And in their cover of Video Killed the Radio Star, and now I understand the Supernova scene. Supernova is another band from Seattle. I don't know if they're from Seattle, but it's another band that played with the Presidents, or at least played near them when they observed them, and they liked their name, so they put their name in other things. They mentioned the band in, I think, the song Fuck California, which is kind of a B-side song. Well, It was the A-side on a 7-inch, but it was never put on any album. So I think they mentioned Supernova in that song. Kevin Smith fans probably know the band Supernova. They did the song Chewbacca on the Clerks soundtrack. But yeah, Supernova gets mentioned a lot. Sometimes other bands get put in place of Supernova. In Video Killed the Radio Star, some live versions, because the Presidents were on tour with Kula Shaker, and now I understand the Kula Shaker scene became the lyric. So yeah. It's just one of those things that, like, you know, in the deep lore of the band, oh, Supernova is actually just them referencing a band they like. Saw them playing in a mall, I think is one of the lyrics of, like, the song that they actually mentioned the band.
Let's kick out the jam, yeah. Kick out the jam. We done kicked 'em out.
I love that Mount Rushmore show. That Mount Rushmore show was great because it was on MTV, and I was in high school, so that was really the only way that I was going to see them live. You know, I wasn't able to really have money of my own or a car until I was in college, so I could actually, you know, go to shows other places. So seeing the band on MTV was as close as I was going to get.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure they play Peaches after this. It sounds like it leads into that, but man, all these different clips, all these different live things, the latest music videos have been like that. I really love this. Just hearing them play this song again, even though it's from '98, like, it still gets me hyped and happy for this band. So yes, their 31st anniversary of the album is out on streaming now with this live track, as well as I think 3 or 4 others. But they re-released this album a couple times before. For the 10-year anniversary, they did the 10-year anniversary Super Fun Pack, or something like that, that had a bunch of bonus tracks, B-sides, stuff they did with Subset, which was the Presidents of the United States of America with Sir Mix-a-Lot. And then they did the 25th anniversary, where they did it on vinyl, and that is this one. This is the one from 2020 on Pusa Music. Now, if you notice here on this, it says, thanks to the Supers, Steph to the F Rider, Carolyn Duke, Jack Quarantillo, Jamie Craighead, Johnny Ruckus, Mike Lyon, Sal Garo, and Timmy Dub. Mentions all the Supers there. They did this as a Kickstarter, and you got this and the shirt and a pin. And I saw this and went, oh man, they mentioned the Supers, but they didn't mention me. They've called me a superfan for years. Chris said that thing on stage about me. Oh well, you know, things like that happen. Not a big deal. Well, Steph, the first super mentioned here, who is a fan of theirs in Seattle, who has worked with the band, has run their merch booth for a while. I think her, and I think Caroline too, appear in one of their music videos for Love Everybody, contacted me and said, hey, have you gotten your album yet? And I said, yes. And she goes, which one? What do you mean, which one? Did you get the one from the Kickstarter, or did you get the one from the guys? And I went, from the guys? What do you mean? She goes, you were left off of the special thanks to the Supers. So I called Jason and verbally kicked his ass and said you left off Ian. And I was like, Steph, you didn't have to do that. And she goes, no, it's important. So, because she was close with the band and lived near them, she basically verbally accosted them to get them to mention me. So I hold in my hand a one-of-a-kind version of the 25th anniversary release of the album. This is the Insane Ian edition of the Presidents of the United States of America self-titled album, 25th anniversary, signed by Dave Dieterer, Chris Ballou, and Jason Finn. And there's a word bubble here that is a little hard to read because it's black on dark colors, but it says, Ian, So sorry I screwed you on the supers list. You should be at the top. That's pretty fucking awesome too. So that was really nice. Then, only 3 years later, Bandbox did a release of the album on vinyl as well. This is a Fancy Pants Gold vinyl. It even tells you that on the back. It's a Fancy Pants Gold vinyl. No bonus tracks on this, but they did also release Froggy Style on vinyl for the first time. Froggy Style was their demo tape, which was only on tape. We used to, like, you know, burn MP3s of it and burn them onto CDs and pass them around the fandom. But Froggy Style was a very sought-after collectible for the President's fans. But since this is a re-release from 3 years later, the Supers list got updated. Thanks to the Supers, Steph to the F Ryder, Carolyn Duke, Jack Quarantillo, Jamie Craighead, Mike Lyon, Sal Garo, Timmy Dub, featuring Insane Ian Bonds, and introducing Mr. Oscari Ali of Pusabase.com. That's all fine, and Ruckus too, damn it. Johnny Ruckus, notoriously, Finn doesn't like him. Finn being Jason Finn. So yes, so it goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway, what a ridiculous honor it is to be on the special thanks for these albums, and even to have the Insane Ian edition of this one. My name is also in the liner notes on the original version of Freaked Out and Small, but that's because I was a backer on Music Blitz. Music Blitz, the music backing thing before Kickstarter that went under right after they funded that album. They were supposed to do a subset album. They put out a vinyl that had a subset song on one side and the Quitters on the other. When the band got back together, originally they weren't sure they could use the name The Presidents of the United States of America because it belonged to Columbia, technically. Which is why the second album has never been re-released. This album was originally released on Pop Llama, so they were able to re-release it because Pop Llama had the original masters. It was put on Columbia Records after they did it on Pop Llama. Pop Llama was an indie label out in Seattle. And so, yes, they've been able to re-release this one, and the albums that came after the Columbia releases. But 2 and Pure Frosting, their collection when they went farewell the first time, have never been re-released. Hopefully we will see some things from those at some point. Maybe we can make a deal with Columbia. But anyway, that's all for this week. Go check out the original song without me yammering all over it and telling way too long-winded stories. The link, of course, is in the description box below. If you've not heard of the Presidents of the United States of America, sometimes I say it so fast I get tongue-tied. If you've never heard of that band, please seek them out. They are one of my favorite bands of all time. They get such a fat sound out of so few strings. 5 strings in the entire band, and they absolutely crunch it. I love this band. I hope you do too. Link is in the description box to see it without me yammering all over it. Go show them love. If you liked this video, please like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things to feed the algorithm to get more eyeballs onto these videos. And if you really want to help the channel out, consider supporting me on Patreon like these wonderful folks over here do. You can get my videos early, get my own comedy music early, and all sorts of other cool things like that. Anyway, that's all for this week. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Man, you crush a killer with a thigh bone. Man, you'll carve a cave and make a cozy home. Man, you'll be a rock and roll singer. Man, you got a thumb and a finger.